going to paint a painting for you. I'm going to attempt and see how this works. I've never done it before, so we'll see. We'll see how it works. But first of all, I want to show you my colors and what colors I normally set out. And I use all sorts of brushes. So any brush you have, well, I'll show you the ones I'm going to use today. But it's always different. And I got lots of brushes, but I've had them for a long, long time, and I keep them and clean them. So therefore, I've got lots of brushes. So also, I'm going to use a little bit of walnut oil. So that's what I use to kind of get my paints a little more supple, I guess. And I don't use a whole lot, but I do use some. And so of course let me show, oh, and I draw it out with willow charcoal. And today I'm going to paint on this canvas that's called a Senso canvas. Let me show you what that is. Okay, I think you can only get these from Jerry's Artorama, but I'll show you what this is. And it says it's linen. Pine stretcher bars, it's linen with clear acrylic on it. So here's what that is. Senso. And I've just started painting on these, and I really like them because it gives kind of a great effect for texture. I think it works. I think it works pretty well. So I'm gonna show you. I painted this one the other day. I do have it up on Instagram, but I did paint this one the other day, and I thought it turned out really well. I had a good time painting it. This is just a 6x6. So I'm gonna paint this again for you, and so we'll see how that works out. So I think that I need to show you my colors here too. Okay, so let me just show you what I have here. This is what I use for the most part. These are the colors that I use, and this is actually an old picture frame. Actually, it's not a picture frame. I think I had that made. This is glass. Painting on glass, of course, is the best thing, I think. And so here are my colors. These are normally the colors I use. Every once in a while I'll throw in a turquoise or some other pinks, although I do have some pink flowers that are in here, but not that much. I also throw in a diox purple sometimes, but I have not put that in today. So let me show you what I have here. So I start with the colors in the color chart, and I start with yellow just because that's just what I do. So I've got a lemon yellow. This is actually probably Winsor Newton. Cad orange, which you don't have to use that. You can certainly mix these two together. This is a cad red light. Now sometimes I do a cad deep, and this is like magenta. This is alizarin crimson, ultramarine deep, or just ultramarine. This it happens to be deep, but it's just ultramarine. Sap green. I try not to use too much of the sap green because I think it's best to mix your greens when you have a lot of greens, which we do in here. I also add some Viridian, which is a very cool green that makes kind of a cool looking color. And one of my favorite colors is, I'll show you what it is. It's Williamsburg Courbet. How do you pronounce that? Colbert? I don't know. But let's say Corbett green. And that's one of my favorites. It's very dark. It's a really good color. So, and then I've got warm white over here, and I've got, actually this is radiant white, but titanium white is fine too. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit of this greener color because sometimes I just like to throw that in. So I think I'll just put this over here. Maybe sometimes I put it up a little higher. I think I'll put it, this one's Winsor Newton Cad Green Pale. That also makes good green leaves in the light. Okay, so I'll show you some of the brushes I'm going to be using today. I do like rosemary brushes now. So this is actually that's a Raphael, but I like that. I like brushes that are not as soft as some others, and I'm going to use just some bigger brushes. This is probably going to help me draw the trees. So anyway, sorry that's waving all around. I can't really see, the camera's right above my head and at my back. So I'm going to start, and I will just tell you what I do as we move along. I'm sorry I won't be able to show you my palette as I go along, but I'll try to tell you what colors I'm using. So here we go. I'm going to take a little bit of, I forgot to tell you, along the side over here I have the phone rang, so I forgot to go down to the side. But anyway, going down the left side, I've got yellow ochre, raw sienna, terra rosa, and black. And yes, I do use black, but I don't put black on the canvas, just straight black. If you do, you're going to have a black hole, and the eye goes straight to it, and you're just going to have a black hole into another dimension that's not good, not good. So what I'm going to do first is I usually just kind of to loosen up. I'm going to paint from this painting, but I also have a printout that I've painted that I'm going to use too. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble bringing that right there. So I'm just going to paint from the painting and from the printout. So, so what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to add my dark colors, and actually my darks I'm probably going to got a little black and really the Cobair green. How do you pronounce that? Cobair green. I'm going to say Cobair green because I really like the green. So there's dark. So I'm seeing there's dark here. There's dark here, and I want to tell you, as you see, I've already drawn it out with a vine charcoal. So I don't want that to be my final drawing, because you continue to draw as you paint. So let's just do, I'm just going to put some darks in, so I'll just kind of know where those are. Those are down here. This is not set in stone, as you know. It's just kind of to get me started off. There's dark there. Dark's going to come around here. And there, there's a lot of dark up in here. And this is this Cobair green here. And so it's going to be dark. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay that in. And as you see, I do I guess you call it a scumble. Those are trees right there. I guess you call it a scumble. And I do like to do that because it gets me kind of loosened up. And and that's what I do. I paint loose. I paint very loose. And so I'm just going to leave that there for right now. These were those trees right there, so I'm going to leave that open a little bit. In my painting, I see that, with this one, I started with a red canvas. And so that really is always kind of fun because there's some red peeking through. So I'm going to try something that I haven't tried before. I am going to actually draw this in with red acrylic. I've just got a little acrylic in here, and I'm just going to do this and just kind of see what happens. I'm just going to kind of draw where those are going to be. Maybe some of the red will show through, maybe it won't. That's kind of, you know, you just need to try things. You just need to not be so scared like I used to be. But now I'm like, I just need to go for it, you know, and just kind of see what happens if you do this and do that. You can always scrape it off, and you do hate to scrape things off. It's always kind of disappointing when you have to scrape things off. But you know, it happens. It does happen. So let's just see what happens here. We're just going to do a little bit down this way. Now, these are not set in stone. You know, I may just paint over them. That's kind of, that's kind of a big line. But that's okay. That's really okay. Because you're constantly drawing the whole time you're painting. Which means you're just continuously redrawing the shapes. Just redrawing the shapes. And so this is so you see everything's very loose. Everything's very loose. Let's see, these come to about right in here somewhere. So I may keep those lines, I may not keep those lines. You know, we'll see. We'll see how this ends up. So that kind of goes over that way. So you see, this is really kind of all I need. I'll let this come down that way. That's going to be like that. So now I'm going to add some more dark. I think that's enough for that. So now I'm going to add some more dark. And I'm using a bigger brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, you can't really see that, but I'm going to add some darkness right behind here, because usually what I do is pick out the darkest color here, because it's really going to be your shadow. So I'm going to use a dark green and just fill that whole area in right here. Right now, just remember, we're just laying in, I'm just scumbling in, okay? I'm just scumbling in, because the flowers are going to be covering this dark, but then some of the dark is going to show up. So let's scumble in just a little bit of this. This comes down that way. Just kind of to see where your darks are. There's some darks in here. There's definitely some darks in there. And the darks kind of come down this way a little bit. That's the tree over there. So what I'm going to do next is, right in this area right here is kind of my next dark. Right in here is going to be here, and maybe a little darker. I'm going to go ahead and lay that in as a whole block. You see that? You just block things in. So right now I'm just blocking things in. So I'm taking a little sap green, a little bit of my oil, sap green, a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. It's a little too light there, so I'm just gonna scumble this in a little bit. I think it probably needs to be a little darker, and keep it all pretty dry. This is kind of too wet. That's probably too wet. So you're just scumbling now. You're just scumbling, and this kind of loosens you up to the point where, oh, okay, I'm breathing now. It just makes you kind of, sometimes I hold my breath when I paint, which I should not do, because I could easily fall off of my chair. And so anyway, the dark, the greens, I'm just kind of adding some greens. There's still some coming down here on the side. As you see, we're coming over here. Down over here is going to be like some, that looks like that's part of the, you know, I don't know, whatever that is, dirt. So I'm going to come over here. So see, so far, this is what I have. This is how I started off. And So next, let's go to, I've got, and I'm going to just kind of, I don't clean my brush, I just pinch it off really good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, what I think I'm going to do is kind of start putting the dark colors of these pots. So I think I'm just going to get some Terra Rosa and a little bit of black, just a teeny bit of black, Terra Rosa, and then I'm going to put in the dark side, because see, the light is actually coming this way, and so you're going to have a dark side over here. So the dark side kind of comes down like that. We're still just scumbling in. We're still just scumbling. So that's kind of a little darker down there. I probably need to darken that up. This is, it's kind of dark down in there. As you see, I'm kind of right there. So I'm kind of adding that dark in. There's a little more dark up in there. But then it lightens up. I'm going to add a little orange over here to this. And I'm just going to kind of give it a once over block in just to see how we're looking here. That's a little yellow ochre with a little yellow. Sometimes I don't get the color quite right, but I'm certainly trying to get the value right. And it's been very hard for me to figure out values that are in color. So that took me a long time to figure all that out. But now I think I'm kind of got it. I had a teacher that once told me that you can't see values. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's harsh. But you know what? She was right. She was right. So it really was a good thing for me. So I'm going to go ahead. Maybe I'll make this one a little redder, I think. Maybe I'm add a little red in it. It's a little too much. And so when it's too much, here's what you do. Just wipe it off, is what you do. So let's see what we got here. Still got that right there. Can you see that? Maybe you can. Maybe you can. So, all right, I'm just gonna, and this is gonna come around this way, and it comes down. Didn't quite get that, but I might redraw. So that's what I'll do. Now I need to reestablish, because I kind of didn't get that right here, did I? I did not. So, and that kind of comes up that way. And that way, this is going to be lighter here. This is lighter in there. So you see, it's kind of a big old messy mess now, but that's okay. It just shows me where all the colors are going to be. That kind of goes around that way. And so I think now I may add the shadow, which is kind of a grayish, kind of a, let's see, it's kind of a gray. So I'm going to add a little, what do I have here? Anyway, I've got kind of a grayish, greenish kind of a color here. I'm just going to lay that in. There's a little light piece right there. I'm just going to lay that in right there and let that kind of be the shadow for now. And the rest of it, this is going to be white. This is actually kind of a brownish, darkish. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. That's kind of a dark kind of a color right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And here's some more green right up in here. So that's going to kind of outline that. That probably needs to be reshaped. So there we go. So there we go. We're kind of got everything kind of blocked in, and then so we're going to start to add some different colors. So now I'm going to add some over in here, in this area right here. This is their dark side, so I'm just going to start adding a little bit of alizarin crimson back over in there, so that's just going to show me that that is my darker side. And to darken your alizarin crimson, you can always put a little blue into it. So that's really just kind of a background. In the background, that's what that is. And you're going to have some different, you know, some flowers that come up like that. Now on this one right here, we're going to have definitely some lighter. So I'm just going to kind of see the shape that kind of comes down a little bit right there. This is dark back up in here, so let's get that dark. So that kind of will shape that right there, and that's dark. So now it's time to really kind of see what our flowers are going to be. Although this right here probably needs a little bit of a reshaping right there. You don't want lines that are too, as you see, I'm kind of losing my red lines, which is really kind of okay. It's really fine. I may even go back and put some in. All right, so I'm going to change brushes right now, and I'm going to use, maybe I'll use one that's a little smaller. Let me find it. So this one right here, this is Rosemary number 4. That's what I'm going to use right here. And I'm going to stick maybe a little big. I mean a little small. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pinch off my brush here. And I'm going to start to maybe kind of define where some of these flowers are going to be. So I'm adding a little red. And so I'm just going to start putting in a few areas here where the flowers, now nothing too distinct yet. That's going to be, you start off big and you end up small. So we're just going to kind of see where these things go. So just kind of start to put them in a little bit, light to dark over here. Gets lighter, so I'm adding a little bit of orange to it just to see how we're going to work out, see how they're going to work out here. No particular shape as yet, but I'll go back and I'll lighten all of these shapes, and then it won't be like you've drawn a flower. You definitely do not want to do that. So let's go down to this one right here, because this one's going to have this is orange. So like over here, the orange, so I'm going to add a little red. I'm actually going to add a little green just because they're kind of dark over in this area. It's just to see where they're going to be. Nothing definite yet. So see, and really, so you hadn't really committed to anything yet. Don't commit until really you're toward the end. And sometimes in my end commitment, that's when I mess things up. Sometimes when things are looser, things look better. So really that's just to give me an idea as to what's going on there. These actually are purple, so purpley pink. So I'm going to add a little bit of purple, and I've got some magenta. And I'm going to let it be a little darker over here, so a little darker over there. Gets a little pinker as we go over, so a little pinker. I'm going to get a smaller brush in just a minute so I can see how these flowers are going to turn out. So here we go. We're getting a little pinker here. They really were kind of a lavender-ish color. They came out over that way, so we can just kind of see. So you see how it's kind of coming together? So now I think the best thing to do is to start adding in, maybe I'll go ahead and add my lightest light right here. It's very light. As you see, the sun is hitting it, and it's very light. And you can look at the picture that I'm painting it from too. I will actually put that image on my blog. So, gosh, I hadn't done my blog in so long, but I will. I'll put the image on the blog so you can look at it and maybe print it if you want to look at it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start bringing out some detail. You know, I'm not a big detail person. I'm going to start refining some shapes, and I'm going to start pulling out these flowers. So from now, so I think what I'll do now is I'm just going to maybe put it on, make it go faster, and so this video won't be hours and hours long. Of course, it doesn't take me that long. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to speed this up. So the painting is finished now, and I haven't signed it yet, but what I do sometimes at the very end is I add just a couple of strokes of red, and yes, sometimes you can mess up and like, no, that didn't need to go there, but I just kind of like it, and just put a few. I can't tell you a rhyme or reason here, like right there, that wasn't so good, but just a little bitty speck, maybe one right over there, just to pull some red back up in other places. So just to kind of give it some interest. So that's a few, maybe one right there. Then sometimes I take it off. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that sometimes in my paintings, if you see red marks, either it's the red canvas or I've gone back and maybe put the red marks in. So the painting is finished, and so here's the final painting. I probably did put a few extra little strokes here and there on it, but you saw it you saw the whole thing, and you can see in this image right here, you can see the little red marks I've put in. So I hope you enjoyed watching this painting demonstration. I enjoyed painting it. Again, I'll put the images up on my blog, and I'll leave a link for you so you can see those. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.